Let's take one last look at your traffic and weather for you right in on this Tuesday morning. A couple accidents to report. One's going to be out at Farrell Road and Longtown Road. Another one at I-26 westbound and exit 111. That's Augusta Road. Highway 302, Bushbury Road, as well as Main Street and College Streets. Be careful as you make your way through those areas. High today, going to be nice and warm, 78 degrees with some breeze. Then tomorrow, breezy and 74, sunny and 71 on Thursday. That's traffic and weather on the other game. Nine o'clock on your Tuesday morning. Welcome in. It is the Extra Point. Tyler Head here in the Herndon Chevrolet Studios as always, with a probably kind of jet-lagged Jack Veltri joining me on the other side. It's been quite a weekend for you, and I guess a shorter trip up to Charlotte tonight for baseball, which we'll get into in just a moment. But you're kind of here, there, and everywhere as of late.
Yeah, man, it's busy season. You know, Fortunately, I'm back in Columbia this weekend for a few days, and then next week it's Mississippi State, and then the week after that it's Texas A&M. So it's going to be busy, but you know what? We're going to see how. I don't know how it's going to go, but we're going to find out.
Well, for those that did not see, Jack also added vlogger to his repertoire this past weekend. There's about a 10-minute video of a weekend in the life of Jack Veltri on Gamecock Central's YouTube channel of your whole experience of being out there in Fayetteville this weekend.
Yeah, I've done it a few times now. I started doing it during football season, and you know, I wanted to incorporate it during men's basketball, but honestly, man, the season didn't go well, so there was no point, and we'll see how baseball goes. But yeah, man, I mean, look, haven't been to Arkansas before. Thought it was fun, and yeah, you know what more can you say? So I hope people enjoy it, you know, like I did.
Yeah, I thought it was pretty neat. Why does your girlfriend not like to drive?
You know, dude, that's a great question. I don't know, because anytime she'll like come to Columbia or whatever, and like, you know, she'll park her car and then never touch it again the entire weekend. It's always me driving. You know, I don't know what it is, but something about, I mean, is your wife kind of like this, where like if you guys had the choice of who drives, is it you who drives? Or
I mean, I'm always the one that drives, and she's not against it. It is funny, like when we met in college, she didn't have her driver's license. She didn't get her license until a couple months after we met, when, you know, she was 18, 19 at that point in time. And I'm like, because again, when I was like 16, I got my license immediately. You know what I mean? I couldn't wait to drive. And I feel like that's how most people are. But yeah, her and her sister are the same way. Like her sister just got her license like a year ago, and she's 20. You know what I mean? So I just can't wrap my head around that, because I'm like, I was dying to drive when I was 16.
Yeah. I can't really explain it, to be honest. Like, I don't know why it is. It's always been this situation where whenever Caroline and I are together, I'm usually the one driving. Unless she has to drive, I'm usually the one driving, pumping the gas. It's something about women and not wanting to pump gas, not wanting to drive. Yeah. Not saying they're lazy, but it's like, for whatever reason, the guy always has to do the driving and whatnot.
Well, yeah, the pumping gas, that's, you know, can be a little dirty, get greasy and all that kind of stuff. So I get that. I always keep a bottle of hand sanitizer in the car.
Yeah, it's a good option. So yeah. I don't know why it is though, but yeah, good question. It's a random one.
Well, you can see Jack's full vlog on Gamecock Central's YouTube channel if you want to see what his experience in Fayetteville was like. And I'm glad you had some fun, because obviously the baseball wasn't all that fun.
Yeah, the baseball was not fun, but hey, look, another opportunity to win a game tonight in Charlotte, and we'll see, man. They definitely need one. tonight before a really big series with Tennessee this weekend.
We'll dive into that in just a second, but it is 9 o'clock, and it is time for your 9 a.m. Sandstorm Pick-Me-Up.
Time to get hyped.
Here's your 9 a.m. Sandstorm.
Sponsored by George Sink Injury Lawyers. Just call all nines.
It is time for your 9 a.m. Sandstorm Pick-Me-Up, brought to you by South Carolina's largest injury law firm, George Sink Injury Lawyers. If you've been hurt in the car or at work, call George Sink now at 803-ALL-9s. It is a quick turnaround coming off of getting swept by Arkansas this past weekend as Carolina baseball takes on another highly ranked team in North Carolina. Coming up tonight, first pitch at 7 o'clock. Premium coverage starting at 6:45 here on 107.5 The Game in Columbia, as well as 100.3 The Game out in Myrtle Beach. That game will be up the road in Charlotte. I'm assuming Kendall will probably be there working this game. Doesn't she typically do that when they play the neutral game up at the Knights Stadium?
That's what I'm told, is that I think she had told me like last week she'll be there. So, I mean, she's been talking about it for a little bit now. And I know she was just in Arizona this past week for White Sox spring training, because she usually goes up there to do some Knights coverage with the guys that are probably going to be in AAA and stuff. But, yeah, no, I mean, look, if you're going to the game tonight and you're a Gamecock fan, definitely pay attention to the big scoreboard out in left field. You will see her on it throughout the night, I'm sure, and I'm sure someone's gonna be like, "Oh my God, it's Kendall!" Yeah, I can't wait to hear it. It'll probably be me. So.
Yeah, little GC reunion. Maybe she'll get you on the big screen too.
Yeah, I don't. Hey, if she does, that's awesome. But if not, that's also cool.
Again, when you look at this, it's yet another ranked opponent for South Carolina, and we're still in the middle of this stretch where, going back to coming off the Oklahoma game, you looked at having to take on a good Charleston team. Hey, you won that game. A highly ranked Arkansas team got swept. You got a ranked North Carolina team, and then you got the defending national champions and top team in the country coming into your house this upcoming weekend. Right now, you're behind the 8 ball. And tonight obviously doesn't have any bearing on your SEC schedule, but from a resume standpoint, being a North Carolina team would help you out tremendously.
It would do a lot, honestly. Like the Charleston one last week did a lot just for RPI purposes. You go back to last year real quick. South Carolina in an otherwise down year where you finished under 500 in the SEC. I think one of the silver linings in last season, and definitely what helped you in getting to the postseason for sure, was a midweek win over I think at the time UNC was ranked like number 13 when you beat them, and you were unranked. So getting a win over this team, considering they're ranked highly again this year, would be a real nice, mark on your resume. Because I don't think you have one ranked win this year. So
yeah,
this would help in terms of like quad 1 through quad 4. This is easily a quad 1 game that you're playing here. And if you win this one, like, you're feeling good about it. And who knows, man, it could do something for the confidence going into what's going to be a really, really tough series against Tennessee, where you're just hoping you don't get swept.
Yeah, and that's my thing, is you don't want this to, if you continue to lose, the effect that's going to have on the team is something that I don't think can really be understated here. And I want to get to a little bit of what Coach Maneri said yesterday. We're talking with Jay and Elijah on the postgame show about just that, about not letting these losses affect the team from a mental standpoint as the season rolls along.
I met with the team today, and went over a lot of things with them, that would be internal, meant only for internal reasons, ways to improve and things that we need to do a lot better and so forth. It's my job to keep the guys in a positive frame of mind. You can't do anything about what's been done already. All you can do is look forward and get ready to go. And we've got great opportunities ahead of us. I mean, next weekend we have another one of the very top teams in the country coming in. And before that, we go up to North Carolina and play another top 10 team. So, the schedule is definitely, challenging right now. And, we have some areas that, obviously we're going to, strive to improve in and, this year and beyond. And and we just got to keep battling. Got to keep the guys in an enthusiastic state of mind and believing that they can do things, and then they've got to go out and do them. We got to make more plays in the infield than we did this weekend. We've got to make some better pitches. We've got to come through with some clutch hits, which we haven't done in the last week. So, it's a difficult game to play, and I understand, people that follow the program get frustrated, when we don't do well, but it's all part of it. We've got to improve in some areas, which we'll do over the course of time through recruiting. And there's areas that we can improve upon this year with the personnel that we have, and we'll continue to work to do that. All we can do is just, keep working hard with the players and keep encouraging them and try to work on the things that we need to work on and go out there and get a good win, hopefully tomorrow night.
And look, there's not a whole lot of reprieve on this schedule. I mean, yes, you look at Mississippi State and Florida, a couple teams that are struggling a little bit so far this year, in the SEC. But again, you've already played Arkansas, who's now the number 2 team in the country coming off the weekend sweep. Already played Clemson at number 6. You played Oklahoma at number 9. You got to play Tennessee. You got to play who's number 1. You got to play LSU at number 8. Tonight you got North Carolina at number 21. See Auburn in here at number 11. I'm probably missing some others as well. But it doesn't really, there's no reprieve. Ole Miss, another team that you're going to have to play. They are currently 15th. Like, it's not, there's no escaping this. You're going to have to play these tough opponents week in and week out. You got to figure out how to start winning these games.
I'll say this, though. The schedule is not as brutal as it is right now. Like, again, there's just no denying how tough the schedule has been. Like, again, you're facing, for everyone just seemingly, throwing their hands up, being, annoyed that South Carolina hasn't won games or anything, with, these 3 losses to Arkansas and getting swept by Clemson and stuff. These are very, very good teams they're playing, like some of the best in the country. And year one under a new head coach, you're dealing with the effects of a coaching staff that got fired for obvious reasons. They just did not perform well enough. And, whether that's the talent on the field or anything else, it takes time to get a winner put together, right? And, South Carolina right now, they have 2 series losses to kick off SEC play. Go back to last year. They had, 3 of their first 4 series were all series losses. In some cases, you got swept. Like, it's going to happen. Baseball's a long sport where it's a long season. Still a lot of time left to go. You just really hope you don't go 0-4 this week, because that's going to put a real damper on the year. And it's hard. It'd be very hard to come back. You're already in a 1-5 hole to begin SEC play. It'd be very tough to get out of a 1-8 hole. It'd be very akin to men's basketball. That's what the main comparison I see a lot of people throw around for some reason. If you can find a way to win a game this weekend, be competitive, I think you take it. But, obviously it's not going to be good enough. You want to win the series this weekend. Try to win tonight, and then, split the week, honestly. Go 2-2. Feel good about that going into next week, because you get Mississippi State, and then you get A&M. And I think those are series that you can definitely win.
Well, with Jarvis Evans getting the start on Sunday and the kind of forced into that role with SQ being out with the bonk on the head, that is now moved Brendan Sweeney in the starting role tonight, taking on North Carolina. He's obviously somebody that's been coming out of the bullpen for the Gamecocks to this point this season, so it'll be his first start here at South Carolina. And again, he's somebody that has done some good work in the bullpen early on in the season. The past couple of games have not gone the best for him. So again, you just kind of got to go out there and hope for the best tonight, and we'll see what happens.
And here's the thing with Brendan is that he has started before in the past. When he was a JUCO last year, he made 17 starts. So it's not like this is some random thing that's like, oh my gosh, like, we don't have someone to start game, this midweek game tonight because Dylan Eskew got hurt or whatever, and we needed to pitch Jarvis. Like he's started before. And honestly, maybe this is the better long-term move for him. I think this is much more like when Garrett Gainey last year was South Carolina's closer, and then towards the end of the year, the previous staff finally realized, like, hey, Garrett needs to be a starter, and he can, pitch better in that role. The problem was with that, you did it probably in April or May, like definitely like with like 2 weeks to go before the SEC tournament, and you tried making him throw 90, 100 pitches, and he just wasn't built up yet to that point. So I think South Carolina trying to do something like this now, if this is ultimately the direction they go of trying to build him back into being a starter, I like it. It's March right now. You still have like 2 months left to go in the season, in the regular season, that is. You can definitely make this work to where this guy can definitely become a full-fledged starter. But I'll be interested to see how long he goes tonight after pitching on Sunday.
Again tonight, taking on North Carolina at 7 o'clock. Pregame coverage starting at 6:45 right here on the game in Columbia, and 100.3 the game out in Myrtle Beach. A lot of news coming out of women's basketball yesterday. We figured out South Carolina's Sweet 16 opponent, and also a huge injury that drastically alters the entire face of the women's basketball tournament. We'll dive into that coming up next. It is The Extra Point. Tyler Head and Jack Belcher along with you on your Tuesday here on the game. Tyler Ed here, once again telling you about our friends over at Twin Peaks. We are in the season of Lent as of right now, leading up to Easter coming up next month. And if you're looking for an alternative to meat on Fridays, Twin Peaks has got you covered. You can grab the beer-battered fish and chips for a light and fresh fare that never skimps on flavor. This beer-battered cod is served with house-made tartar, malt, vinegar, and French fries. You can score them along with a 22-ounce Miller Lite or Coors Light for just $12 every Friday through Easter, or grab them with a soda or tea for just $10. And, of course, with all the great basketball going on as well as so many other sports rolling right now, park yourself Twin Peaks, TVs as far as the eye can see, tons of delicious food, and, of course, those 29-degree draft beers. All that and so much more with our friends at Twin Peaks down in the Vista.
good matchup.
Only 1.8 seconds to get a clean 3 off. Weathers the inbounder, finds Barker, trying to go up with it. Maryland survives!
Welcome back in. It is the Extra Point. Tyler Head and Jack Belcher along with you here on your Tuesday on the game. That was the call last night on ESPN as the number 4 seed Maryland survives against the number 5 seed Alabama 111-108. Double overtime in the second round of the women's tournament as the Maryland Terrapins will now take on South Carolina coming up later on this week in the Sweet 16. And what a game. I don't know what else you can say about it, but a phenomenal game that Maryland had to claw their way back into after being down by a lot there late in the third quarter and picking up a remarkable win over a very good Alabama team.
I think that was the best game of, I mean, look, the men's tournament too, I would say is the best game in March Madness this year without question. I mean, what a thrilling game. It sucks that someone had to lose this game just because it was so dynamic and back and forth and some crazy shots hit. The fact that it got to overtime with the foul on on Alabama there with 3 shots at the line, I mean, that was insane. And going into overtime, just Sarah Ashley Barker, what more can you say about her and her performance? Like, she literally carried Alabama last night with 45 points on 17 of 25 shooting. That's an insane stat line to look at. But at the end of the day, when you look at Maryland and they have 4 of their starters nearly score 20 points apiece, if not more, that's where, a collective team effort, won in the end.
Yeah, and Sarah Ashley Barker set a Alabama school record with those 45 points, in the tournament last night. Alabama had their biggest lead at 17 points with 3:28 left to go in the third quarter. And again, remarkable comeback by Maryland there. And you kind of think that's got to play to the advantage of South Carolina, the fact that Maryland played an additional 10 minutes of basketball while already having a day less rest compared to South Carolina, who obviously beat Indiana on Sunday. So hopefully they're playing a little bit of a fatigued Maryland team coming up on Friday.
That's what you would imagine, and we'll see if that is the case. There probably is going to be a little bit of fatigue, but it's not like you're playing last night and then you have to play like 2 days later. Like, you have a few days here to kind of get yourself right, travel to Birmingham. I'm sure the team will get there probably like today or tomorrow. Probably tomorrow, I would guess. And then you got your shoot-around day and then get ready for Friday. And I think that Maryland's going to come in there ready to go, and South Carolina's going to have to play better than they did against Indiana if they want to, get out of there with a win.
I was a little worried about the prospect of playing Alabama in Birmingham, which would essentially be a home game for them in the Sweet 16. So you alleviate that. But again, very scrappy Maryland team, one that South Carolina is very familiar with over the years, playing Coach Freeze's team, which Carolina's done a really good job of beating them routinely over the years. But again, a good program that's always going to bring a lot to the table, and should be an exciting matchup on Friday.
I'm looking forward to it, man. I think this is going to be a good little test for South Carolina here, because if they advance, they'd play the winner of Duke and UNC, and that is going to. I mean, all top 4 seeds are still in this side of the bracket here, which is pretty impressive, I would say. And it's going to be the tough test that South Carolina is going to need to go through before heading into hopefully a Final Four here sometime here soon. And again, the path was never going to be easy. But South Carolina's proven before that they can beat these teams. I mean, they've done it, this past year, beating Duke in the regular season this year. And obviously, like you said, they've had success against Maryland and North Carolina. But it all starts with the Terrapins on Friday. And being in Birmingham, I was thinking about it last night, like, Alabama probably would have been technically like a home game for Alabama. I know South Carolina fans travel really, really well, but I mean, Birmingham's not that far from Tuscaloosa. So I feel like the crowd would have been a little bit split. We'll see if Maryland travels, but I think it's going to be like a South Carolina, home game on Friday.
Well, all of the top seeds still alive in the NCAA women's bracket, but one of them had a huge blow last night as Southern Cal loses their star, one of the biggest stars in all of women's basketball right now, in Juju Watkins, to an ACL tear early in the game against Mississippi State, a game they would go on to win 96-59, but she is lost for the rest of the tournament. And you want to talk about an injury sending kind of a shockwave through this entire, end of the women's basketball regular season in this tournament. That is absolutely massive for Southern Cal.
There's no understating it, man. That is I mean, I'm trying to think of like the comparison here. This is just like it's like losing your star player on any team. Like it's just terrible. And Southern Cal's had a great season. They, with Watkins, I think they are definitely a team that can get to the Final Four and make some noise. Like their path has been pretty smooth so far with blowout wins over UNC, Greensboro, and Mississippi State. We'll see how they look on Saturday against Kansas State. I think Southern Cal, again, one player does not make or break what you do, but when you lose your star player like you are for the rest of this tournament, potentially it's going to be a long recovery process too. They may not have her for a little bit next season. And you just really do hope that they can kind of get through this, but it's going to be really, really tough, especially in that first game when a team like Kansas State is going to try to exploit the other pieces on this team.
Yeah, and look, they're very talented outside of Juju Watkins. Kiki Irfin led the team with 36 points yesterday. Got a lot of depth coming off the bench, much like South Carolina does. But again, when you lose legitimately one of the, if not the best players in all of women's basketball, that's going to have an effect. And like you said, they're probably talented enough to still get themselves to a Final Four, but as you get in there, as you potentially rematch with the UCLA, a team that has beaten them earlier on this season, should they get to the national championship game, taking on either a South Carolina, Texas, whatever it may be, they're not the same team without Juju Watkins. Still can be good, but they're not going to be as great as they could be without her on the court.
And that's the thing, man. It's like, I think Southern Cal is going to be able to still get to the Final Four. I think they just should, I think, still, because they're still such a talented team without her. But when you really are facing the elites of the elites, and you want your best player out there, but you don't have her, that's where it can become a little bit tough. And this is honestly an opportunity, though, at the same time, for someone else to step up. And when we saw it last night, obviously, like you said, scoring 36 points and stuff, but got to continue that and just hope that you can get to that point also.
And it sucks just from a viewership standpoint, because again, we obviously hope South Carolina is able to run the table and win the entire thing, but playing a Southern Cal potentially in the national championship game, knowing that their best player is not out there, it wouldn't devalue what the win would potentially be, but you'd be wondering, man, how cool would it be if you did get to play against Juju Watkins and beat her much like you did Caitlin Clark a year ago.
And that's the thing, man. It's that you're not going to be able to you'll win if you beat them in that game, you win it. But a lot of people are gonna obviously say that you beat USC without their best player, and that's a fair take to have. But honestly, at the same time, you really do hope that she's gonna be all right. She's gonna be able to recover. Luckily, she'll be. It seems like she'll be able to play out the rest of her college career. It's not like she's going pro right after this year or anything. So. Works out from that standpoint. I think she has 2 years of eligibility left. So
yep.
Yeah, so she's still got time in her college career, but you hate to see this happen, especially to one of the faces of the college sport right now.
And regardless of if you would see her at some point this postseason, you do have the home and home match, or home and home game in Greenville and a game in LA with Southern Cal the next 2 years. And again, ACLs are very tricky things. You hope that she would be back and healthy enough by the time that happens early in the season, but you don't know that for sure.
Yeah, that's the thing. Like, that game's going to be in November this year. I don't even know. I mean, we'll see. That's a little bit from now, but these ACL injuries, man, they can take a little bit of time to recover from, but we'll see if she's a fast healer or not.
Yeah, so again, unfortunate for Southern Cal as they'll try to navigate the tournament without their best player, and we'll see how that affects them going forward as they head to yet another Sweet 16 themselves. A lot of drama on the men's side of things for things happening off the court, and no surprise, it's Dan Hurley-Sindred again. With that coming up next, it is The Extra Point. Tyra and Jack Beltry along with you on your Tuesday on the Game.
I'll set the timer on my phone. Everyone knows that AAA Heating and Air has the best HVAC replacement options in the Midlands with their guaranteed financing, no payments or interest for 12 months, and a 15-year parts and labor warranty. They're hard to beat when you need a new system. But did you know they also have great deals for repairs? That's right. If your system is broken and you're strapped for cash, AAA Heating and Air can help. They'll get your repairs done with payment options for up to 12 months and also no credit check required. That's right. So if you are the homeowner, all you need is a valid bank account. That's it. That's all you need. So don't wait. Call AAA Heating and Air today and get your comfort back on track. AAA Heating and Air, comfort you can trust.
Welcome back in. It is the Extra Point. Tyler Head and Jack Belcher along with you on your Tuesday. Reminder once again, this Friday, it's our 107.5 The A's Spring Golf Classic in partnership with the Lexington County Gamecock Club. We'll be out at Charwood Golf Club in West Columbia all day long. If you want to sign up and take part, you can register your foursome at 803-755-2000. We bring back the par 5 golf ball cannon. Also going to be giving away a pair of baseball and football season tickets to 2 lucky winners as well. And special guest is going to be a basketball Hall of Famer and former Gamecock great Alex English hanging out with us as there as well. Special thanks to Hardee's for breakfast and Firehouse Subs for providing lunch while we're out there on Friday out at Charwood Golf Club. It's been we talked about this yesterday, Jack, kind of a chalk tournament in terms of the men's side of things as far as the games and the brackets. The drama seems to be what's happening off the court. And there is no bigger lightning rod for drama than the UConn men's basketball team and Dan Hurley. And though they got eliminated on Sunday by the Florida Gators, the drama or the headlines coming away from this are just getting started, it seems like.
Yeah, it's in case you missed it on Sunday. I don't know. I'm guessing you're going to play the audio clip here.
I'm going to play the audio clip.
Yeah, I'm not going to really it's just, there's always something going on with Dan Hurley and that program there.
So the clip I'm going to play, because this game took place in Raleigh where the regional was happening, and Charlotte Sports Live was there covering it. One of their reporters caught this video of Dan Hurley as he's coming through the tunnelway, heading back to the locker room, talking to the Baylor team that's standing there as he voices his frustration over how he thought the game was being officiated. And then you'll hear what happened after this video was released by the Charlotte Sports Live reporter.
That's the video that's gone viral online of UConn head coach Dan Hurley voicing his displeasure with the referees and the Huskies' loss to the #1 ranked Florida Gators. Charlotte Sports Live's own Joey Ellis took that video and then was confronted by UConn Director of Communications Bobby Mullen. Mullen asked for that video that had gone viral to be removed. He then threatened Joey, saying he would, quote, ruin his life if he didn't. This was heard by multiple other reporters and staff on hand. Our management asked Mullen for a statement on the incident, and here's what he said. The lasting image of Coach Hurley leaving the court should have been his walking off the court arm in arm with the seniors, overwhelmed with emotion. Instead, a reporter who was in an area he should not have been recorded on his cell phone a private comment made to members of another coaching staff, end quote. Charlotte Sports Live and Queen City News stand by Joey Ellis's reporting.
So, as you just heard there, this reporter, Joey Ellis, was standing inside this tunnel area as they're coming off the court and sees Dan Hurley saying this to the other coaching staff and captures the video. And then Bobby Mullen, the director of communications for UConn, comes over to him, and we don't have recording of this, but threatened to, quote unquote, ruin his life if he did not delete this.
I'm just speechless, man. Like, what is wrong with this SID, man? Like, ruining someone's life over a video that, mind you, you say private conversation. Dan Hurley is an attention seeker, wanting that someone to please record that because he's screaming it out loud to the other coach. It's not like he's whispering it or anything, or it's not like they're talking one-on-one, mingled together closely, and it just happens to be that the camera randomly caught it. It was there for the taking, and no problem with the reporting. That's good reporting, honestly, right there.
I was gonna say that's my thing. Is this is not a reporter that snuck his way in the locker room. This was not Dan Hurley off to the side somewhere having a one-on-one conversation with the coach and the guy sticking his microphone or camera in there recording it. This is him walking through an area where you can watch the video. There's a lot of other people standing there. And look, you've been in these tournaments before. You as a reporter have access to this area. This is not an unrestricted area that you're not supposed to be in. You are allowed to be there. And when Dan Hurley is walking through, shouting this kind of stuff, especially laced with profanity, guess what? You're probably going to capture that because it's part of the story being told of the game. This reporter did nothing wrong.
And what a joke for the SID to just say he would ruin that guy's life over the video. Like, again, your coach is so out of touch and just, all about himself that he's got to say these things in public, again, it's not like this is a private moment, like you said, man. This is in public. You know, cameras are going to be out. Have your coach be smarter for one, instead of saying these things out there. And then it's more salt in the wound when your SID is saying stuff like this, threatening the guy for recording a video. Like again, there's no problem with it. It's all UConn here.
Mullen, in a now deleted post, responded to the video, and he says, PR man yells at reporter, news at 11. I have a journalism degree, and I know the difference between reporting and seeking out gotcha moments. My temper flared a bit in a moment of weakness after a loss, but I think the journalists I work with regularly would vouch for me. And again, like, what planet is this guy on? This wasn't this reporter for Charlotte Sports Live going out there and trying to make something out of nothing. He sees Dan Hurley yelling this coming off the court at another coaching staff, records it, and posts it with the context. Where's the gotcha journalism in that? I don't get it.
If this isn't some TMZ moment here where you catch someone slipping or whatever, it should, like, again, you have your camera, and look, it could have been like this, like Dan Hurley walking out of the tunnel. You just wanted to record him walking out. Maybe he doesn't say anything, and he just happened to say what he said on camera. Again, it happens. It's part of the business here, and you got to be smarter if you're Dan Hurley, because it's a bad look, man. It's like, it's just, people don't like him already.
Sure.
But it's like, now after seeing this, it's like, who even does like Dan Hurley?
And that's the thing for me. Dan Hurley is a very good basketball coach. You don't win back-to-back national championships being a bad coach, but his antics, his whining, all the theatrics that go on off the court take away from what is a really, really great program. Because even in the national championship years, were we really talking about the basketball they were playing, or were we talking about what their head coach was saying, or the faces he was making, or the things he was saying to officials? No, he is overshadowing his own program at this point.
And he's telling his assistants to shut up and stuff, like on the sideline. It's just, there's so many gaffes from this weekend and stuff, and him just making excuses and complaining about how now he doesn't have to do all this stuff during the summer after winning a championship. Like, he's so full of himself, and I'm honestly glad that UConn got eliminated, not because of the team, just because of him. He's such a dislikable dude.
Well, and like I said, we love villains in sports, and Dan Hurley is not afraid to occupy that villain role, that's for sure.
Yeah, he is definitely the villain of college basketball right now, for sure.
Well, it won't be a three-peat for UConn basketball, but again, I imagine we're going to have more headlines of them over the next couple weeks, something revolving around this and disciplinary action for Bobby Mullen or whatever ends up happening with this, because they just can't manage to stay out of the headlines for whatever reason.
Yeah, I think there needs to be something about, again, you can't just be saying, that you're going to ruin a guy's life over, like, again, that's just like, what are you talking about, man? Like, it's a video. Come on.
Yeah, I know. It's ridiculous, but again, it's UConn basketball in the Dan Hurley era, and that kind of, attitude and way of carrying yourself seems to trickle down, I guess.
It's a bad look, man. Bad look after a season that ended very abruptly.
Well, their season's come to an end, much like South Carolina's did a couple of weeks ago, and more news on the transfer portal front of names jumping in. They'll not be returning for the Gamecock men's team coming up next season. We'll dive into that coming up next as we wrap up today's edition of The Extra Point. Tyler Head and Jack Beltry on your Tuesday here on The Game. Welcome back in. Today's The Extra Point. Tyler Head and Jack Beltry with you on your Tuesday here on the game. We'll let you know coming up in the next hour for the Gamecock Club Hour presented by Krantz Schooling and Heating. Going to hear from both Josiah Thompson and Boaz Stanley from South Carolina's offensive line. Wes talking with Josiah and Chris talking with Boaz as we'll get their thoughts on the very beginning of spring practice and looking ahead to the 2025 season. Again, both those guys coming up in the 10 o'clock hour for Gamecock Club Hour presented by Krantz Schooling and Heating. Jack, we talked a lot of basketball in this hour, and of course, with the transfer portal officially opening yesterday, we already talked about a handful of names that had gone in for South Carolina over the past couple days. Arden Conyers, Austin Hero, and Zach Davis. And one more goes in last night. Someone that maybe is a little bit of a surprise, that being Nick Pringle, who was discussing returning for another year at South Carolina for his final year of eligibility, but has decided to seek his opportunities elsewhere now.
It's a little bit surprising that he is entering the portal because, again, he had expressed interest in coming back after the SEC tournament ended and stuff. It wasn't like a for sure, like, yeah, like I'm coming back to South Carolina next year. Like, it was kind of like, you know, I need to talk to Coach Paris and stuff, but I would be happy to come back, that sort of thing. And so I think ultimately, you know, it seems like we're moving in a direction here where we're seeing a lot of old faces not coming back next year. Like, I think that is what we're going to see, is that this is going to be a very, very different looking team next year. Now, you're going to have the high school guys come in. That's known.
Yep.
But you're also, I just think you're going to have, it wouldn't shock me if your entire starting five is different next year. Like, I just don't see, unless Colin Murray Boyles is coming back, I don't see any other player that is going to be like a sure, like for sure coming back next year.
Yeah, it's certainly trending that way. And if my math is correct here, and this is off the assumption that Colin Murray Boyles will not be returning, which I highly doubt is going to happen, you are losing 1,847 of your 2,233 points scored this past season, just either for guys entering the transfer portal or guys going to the pros like Colin Murray Boyles, or guys that are just straight up out of eligibility like Jamari Thomas and like Jacoby Wright. So again, from a production standpoint, you're basically losing all of it.
And that's okay. Like, again, I understand. I do and I don't understand why people are so attached to some of these players. It's like they went 12-20, and when I see people talking about like, oh, we're losing this guy, that's not good. Like, you went 2-16 in SEC play. There's no reason to run it back with the same group at all. And Pringle, while he's a good dude, had some good games in South Carolina, there were also a lot of low moments last year where it's just like he just was very inconsistent, and that is how South Carolina's season went. So you wish him well. Hope he does well in his final year somewhere else, but you got to move on. You got to find someone better out there.
Do we know the date that Colin Murray Boyles has to make a decision by in reference to the draft?
I believe it's June 15th, if I'm not mistaken. So he's got some time here to make a decision. And, you know, I think with the NBA draft now and stuff, you can like, you know, I think Michi maybe did it 2 years ago when he decided he was going to enter the draft, but he had the option to come back to South Carolina. So I don't know if we're going to see that here with Colin, just because I think he's just a lock to be a first-round pick. But it's going to be a good opportunity for him to potentially go to the draft and see how things go. And then if he really does want to come back, he probably could. But again, at the same time, if not, it's just a lot more, you know, you have to replace. And I think you're going into this season thinking like, all right, how are we replacing our star player along with all the other pieces around him? Because again, you don't have much coming back right now.
Yeah, and again, when you had as bad of a season as you did this past year, sometimes cleaning house is the best option. And we'll see. There's some names being floated out there of teams that are or guys that they're interested in. We'll see who ends up ultimately deciding to come to South Carolina and how hopefully different this team looks next year, because as we've talked about, year number 4 for Lamont Paris is going to be very, very vital in terms of what the future of this program is going to be.
The one thing I do worry about real quick here is just how are you going to be able to sell a program that had such a really bad season? It's easy to sell a program that won 26 games a year ago, and you can maybe sell it like, hey, we need you. It's not like they're one piece away, though, from turning this thing around.
Right.
They got some work to do, and we'll see if they can.
Hey, the money's good enough. Anybody will come, right?
They just need to be able to, fork it out. So we'll see if they can.
We'll see what happens. Jack, we'll get you back in here tomorrow and see what happens with Gamecock baseball tonight.
Yeah, man. Appreciate it. I'll see you tomorrow.
Gamecock Club Hour coming up next. It's been the Extra Point here on the game. It's our Ed once again saying about our friends over at Canty Foundation Specialist. I will remind you once more, you always need to be on the lookout for things happening around your home, especially if you start to notice some things that are a little bit odd. Things like cracks in your exterior brick, cracks in walls or above windows and door frames, doors or windows that might be sticking, uneven or bouncy floors, or cracks over your garage door. If you notice any of these problems with your home, you could have serious foundation issues. That's where our friends at Canty Foundation Specialists come in. Go online to schedule an appointment today at cantycanfixit.com. They'll send a professional out to your home to evaluate your foundation issues and get them fixed right so you and your family can live without worry going forward. Again, go online to schedule an appointment today at cantycanfixit.com for our friends at Canty Foundation Specialist.
All right, everybody, welcome back into another episode of the Gamecock Club. We are joined now by our special guest, Josiah Thompson, South Carolina rising sophomore with the football team, offensive tackle. Josiah, appreciate you taking the time, man. How you doing today?
I'm doing great. How you doing?
I'm good, man. I know you guys have a lot going on right now. Exciting time, too, though, spring ball. As we're recording this was actually day one of spring practice on the field. So give us a little glimpse, man. How did you feel like day one went?
I think day one went great. With a lot of new faces, a lot of transfers. Everything went great. Everyone's on the roll. It was quick. I think it's going to be a great year.
So if you rewind this time last year, man, it was all brand new to you at South Carolina. You were a true freshman getting ready for spring ball for the first time. And now you've had a full year under your belt, a full year in the classroom, full year on the field. How different does it feel kind of going into this spring practice compared to like when you first got to South Carolina?
I feel like more of like a experience feeling. I know what to expect. From different from last year for my freshman year, I didn't know what to expect. But this year, just having everything already settled in my mind, with the techniques and the play calling and stuff, I think it's more easy. So
I know you were obviously highly recruited, man, and when you looked at South Carolina and obviously chose them, I'm sure having a chance to step in and possibly play might have been a part of that decision, but not every guy that says, hey, I'm going to come in and play as a true freshman, does it actually happen. For you, it was a day one thing, starting game one. What was it like just kind of – and that's not an easy position to play as a freshman. What was it like kind of stepping into that role at left tackle as a true freshman for you last year? Was it a kind of an easy transition for you? Was it tough? What can you kind of tell us about that?
Stepping in as a true freshman, especially for left tackle, it was pretty easy, but being as a freshman, you just have a lot to expect for, especially being a freshman and going against, other players, that have been playing, for like 2 years, 3 years. But I think it's more of like, I had to have that, expect mindset. Just keep working, just expect to, be able to being to play that year. So that's all I have for that question. So.
Yeah, and I think, man, so typically when a freshman steps in, you're seeing everything for the first time, at least at the college level, at least at the SEC level. Was there kind of a game last year or a moment last year as the season progressed where you kind of felt like, all right, I'm starting to get settled in. I don't feel like a true freshman anymore. Obviously, you get more and more comfortable anytime you do something as you kind of gain that experience. Like, at what point last year did you really start to settle in, you feel like?
Man, I'll say after, first 2 games, that's when I just really grew up, say, hey, this is, real. It's time to grow up, become a man, because it's going to be a long season. So, just get maturing myself, taking care of my body, because this is where this has to come into play because, it's going to be a long season, especially for a true freshman. So,
yeah, you mentioned when we first started here, some of the transfers coming in, lots of new faces. That's kind of the way college ball is now. You're going to have roster turnover every year. 3 new guys there on the interior of the offensive line. We've actually had a chance to interview a few of them already. Seem to be good fits within the program from what I've seen. But what can you tell us about just that process of, getting to know some new guys who may be your starting line mates there on the offensive line potentially?
It's all about, just starting that chemistry when we first meet them. First impression, just knowing that they got you, you got them. Especially for like new faces, just got to get to know them, know your teammates, know their playing style as well, because you're going to be playing beside them. So that's really all I have.
What has it been like, or what was it like winter workouts? Just kind of, I know Coach Beamer's big into that team building aspect, getting to do some of the stuff we saw videos of online where you are playing basketball together, dodgeball, just stuff that is kind of athletic based but not football based. How much do you think that helps in terms of just kind of that team bonding and just getting to know each other a little bit away from the game of football?
I think that's a great help for the team, especially. 1, team chemistry, and 2, teamwork. Because that's going to take that to the field as well in really any sport. I guess that's what they're trying to show us on, with the basketball, dodgeball, activities like that. So I think that's what they're trying to show us, that we could use that teamwork abilities to show it on the field. So.
Did you have a favorite sport other than football, like a favorite sport among the things y'all got to do off the field, kind of?
Yeah, I think dodgeball is kind of fun, really. I think dodgeball, like, more movement. You see how good, players can move, dodgeball and stuff. So that was kind of fun.
Now, what can you tell us about Grit Night, man? I feel like every offseason we see some stuff about Grit Night, and it's just Luke Day has come up with some just crazy stuff to finish off y'all's winter workout program. What can you tell us about this year's Grit Night?
Man, I think this year's Grit Night, was a lot special, especially for it being the last day of winter workouts, going to the spring. I think Grit Night, stuff like that, it shows, like, how team could bond and come together, just to finish a certain activity. So I think Grit Night was a lot special,
And speaking of the winter workouts, man, how do you feel like this winter went for you? I know last offseason, I got to imagine as a freshman, it was like, all right, just need to put on weight, put on pounds to get used to SEC level. What was there anything different about the winter workouts for you this year, now that you kind of just had that base of understanding of what to expect from Luke Day and his strength staff?
I think to compare this one to last year, I think last year was more of like, okay, got to get stronger, got to get bigger. But I think this year is more of, continue to develop, get stronger, let's get stronger, let's get bigger, let's get even more faster, let's get even more better. So that was basically the mindset for me for this winter workout.
What can you tell the fans listening about what it's like to play for Lonnie Teasley? Like, this guy is, I see it with my job covering recruiting, just seems to be an incredible recruiter. So he must connect with you guys in the recruiting process. What was it about, I guess, Coach Teasley that led you to South Carolina? And what can you tell us about just being around him on a day-to-day basis?
First, I'd say his coaching. He knows what he's talking about. I know a lot of other players on the team know that as well, especially in the O-line room. He's a great coach, especially off the field. He's a great person as well. He teaches technique, especially with experience, in the NFL. He's bringing that to young athletes like me and even freshmen that's coming in this year. I think he could, develop a lot of great offensive linemen coming up the years.
What do you remember when you were going through the recruiting process? I know you were kind of an early commit to South Carolina, but some teams kept trying to recruit you. I know Alabama, Clemson, they were all kind of heavily involved in your process too. What was it when you kind of look back about the Gamecocks that led you to this program?
What led me to this program, watching the games, I just see a team that's playing for each other. Just putting themselves out there, making sure they want to win. For me, I'm a team player. If I got you, I'm gonna play my hardest just so we could get this win. So that's what really led me to this program.
What was it like after? Like, I felt like this past season, you guys, like the guys on the team, y'all knew what Lenora Sellers could do and what he was all about, and then, like, very kind of slowly, you started to hear, like, kind of the national guys realize, oh, like, this guy is legitimate. What was it like to experience that and just block for a guy as talented as Lenora Sellers and see him kind of blow up this year as well?
I'll say it's a lot different seeing it in person, actually, seeing how fast he is, just actually looking at him, seeing how athletic of a person he is. But, for a lineman, blocking for him, that can really even expose him more on the field as well, with his athletic abilities as well. So I think it's a lot. It's great, blocking for Lenora Sellers.
Do you remember how quickly in practice, like last year, how quickly were you kind of like, did you take notice, like, all right, man, this guy is different. Like, he's built different. He's got something about him, I guess.
I think I noticed it when I first walked in for winter workouts, actually. But I think, practice, it showed. I saw it,
So obviously, man, you guys are just getting started with spring football. It's a great time of, like, development and just you don't have to worry about an opponent. You don't have to worry about specific game plan stuff. when you look at like your game, is there anything particular that you and the coaches have like identified like very specifically that you're going to be focused on this spring other than just overall development?
Just focus on overall development. You know, I've been working on a lot of stuff, a lot of techniques. This year, I just want to continue to grow on them techniques and just become elite this year. So
you get to battle with some guys like Dylan Stewart in practice.
Mm-hmm.
How, for one, what can you just tell us about going up against him day to day? And two, how much do you think you guys help each other, kind of iron sharpens iron, potentially going up against each other in practice?
I think going up against competition like that every day in practice can really improve, you know, your ability. Especially when you go out to the game, it can feel a lot easier because you're, you know, already trying your hardest in practice, you know, and you're already getting better with your technique. So you just take that on the field, you'll be good.
All right, we're hanging out here with Josiah Thompson. We got to take a quick break here. You're listening to the Gamecock Club, and we'll be right back.
All right, everyone, I want to tell you about our friends over at Integrated Media. We were over at Pro Swing last week. Same guys that run it, Michael, Nathan, the whole crew over there. And while we were there, we got to enjoy some of the entertainment, not just the golf simulators, but also I think they got like 15 TVs in there. They got the 98-inch TV behind us. Super awesome and great equipment. And they've been out to my home, too. They've been to my home. They've been to Wes's home. If you've ever been to Pro Swing, they outfit everything there. So if you've got a project that you need done at your home or business that has anything to do with AV, with audio visual, you know they can do it for you. 803-948-8327. Everything from mounting a TV, putting in wireless speakers, making sure your internet signal's strong throughout your home, to complete smart home systems where you can control your lights, devices, thermostat, everything from the touch of a button. IntegratedMediaInc.com or 948-8327.
All right, y'all, welcome back in Gamecock Club. You're listening to The Game. He is Josiah Thompson. I'm Wes Mitchell. Hanging out. We're going to talk a little off the field. Josiah, I always ask the guys we have on the show, when you're not playing football, what are the hobbies? What are you kind of getting into? Is there anything just non-athletic based that takes up your time when you do get a little bit of time off the field?
When I get a lot of time off the field, I usually, try to spend time with my family, get calls in, FaceTime, just seeing how they're doing. I say other hobbies I do, I'll draw. Just something to do, keep me busy, not just laying around. So just got to stay active for myself. So.
Do your drawings, is that something that is like kind of a serious hobby? Like, do you have stuff you've put on the wall and stuff like that? Or is it more just sort of like just kind of something on the side you do?
It's kind of something on the side I do. Kind of grew up doing it. I really trying to improving that, just take it harder. So.
What was it like, open-ended question, what was it like growing up in Dillon, South Carolina, and just a football town, if there ever was one? What will you maybe take away from that experience as you get older and you kind of think about home?
Being born and raised in Dillon was great, especially being a football town. It made Friday nights a lot of fun. I think that's where, the love for football, come into place. And, you can tell yourself, I want to go farther in this sport. So,
do you think that prepared you? I know it's different than like the college level, but having fans in the stand and having that atmosphere, on a Friday night in South Carolina in a town like Dillon, it's like the most important thing in the world. So do you think playing with a little bit of kind of that pressure and that atmosphere prepared you somewhat for what to expect at the next level?
Yeah, it did. More of it's kind of turned to a habit of blocking out the noise and staying focused on the field. So I think that actually helped me a lot, coming to college.
Along the same lines, what are your pregame kind of rituals or just habits? What kind of leading up to a game? Are you a music guy? What's kind of the plan for you to get yourself ready on a game day?
Physically, I'd say stretches. Go and get my body loose, ready to go. Mentally, I say just sit in the silence, really. Music like that, try to get my mind ready, see what I have to do, focus on the plays I have to do, expect what's going to be expected for that game or that person in front of me. So that's really more of what I do for games.
Other than playing the game, is there a favorite thing on a game day for you? What is your favorite part about running out there with your teammates and suiting up for South Carolina football?
Man, I say just running out on the field, man. Just seeing all fans, above you, watching. I think that's a great sight to see, running out of the tunnel. So kind of gets me ready.
Now you, I imagine, have you done some of the autograph events y'all have done in the off season for the team? I know some y'all been at basketball games. Some of you and your teammates been at baseball games doing autograph sessions. What has it been like just through some of these NIL appearances, just getting to know the fans, just a little bit, seeing them in person, meeting kids who look up to you, and just seeing the people who support you guys on Saturday, just in person a little bit more maybe?
I say more of giving back. Just actually seeing fans that care and support, showing that you appreciate them, for coming and staying and supporting for us, even when the downloads come. So I say, seeing the kids as well, seeing the smile on their face, when they see players like us playing on the field, knowing that, they want to be us one day. So I think that's a great thing to do.
And obviously, because this is a Gamecock Club NIL interview, what have you thought kind of the support just overall that you've gotten at South Carolina so far via Gamecock Club, Garnet Trust, and just the resources within the program?
Everything's great, getting exposure, everywhere. I think everything's good coming into this program. So
definitely, man. And we also always got to ask about food. So if Josiah Thompson is not having to, basically we're talking about cheat meal, not the meal you're eating because you've got a goal for the weight program. Mm-hmm. If you could have any meal right now, what is Josiah putting in front of him?
I say probably one of them big Five Guy burgers.
Okay. Okay.
That's
What's going on it?
Man, I don't know. It'd be too good. I just put anything on it, like mushrooms.
Anything and everything?
Mushrooms. It's all of it. So.
Fries on the side?
Oh, yeah.
Cajun ones or regular?
The Cajun.
Okay.
Got to bag up, too. Got to.
Okay. Hey, well, Five Guys, holler at Josiah. Might have a little to work something out there for you, maybe, NIL deal. But one thing, let's go back to football real quick, and I'll let you get out of here, man. I know you got a lot going on. Coach Beamer has talked, at least to us, about the message this offseason being, and you can put it in better words than me, but it sounds like it's been, hey, last year was great, but last year is over. We got to take the next step. Can you put it in words or better words for us? What has Coach Beamer's message been to you guys about turning the page from last year and then trying to take that next big step as a program?
I could say last year was great. For me being a freshman, last year was great. But last year showed us what we can do and what we are capable of to do, as a team. I say this year, like, we can sure take it farther, take it as far as we can go, win everything. So that's how I see it in here.
Did you have a favorite moment last season that stands out to you?
I say my favorite moment was Texas A&M. That was probably like the biggest game I had, especially for it being a night game and a home game. So.
And then they're rushing the field too after?
Yes, sir.
Were you you would have been a recruit at the time. Were you in the stadium when they rushed the field when they beat Tennessee a few years ago or no?
No, so I wasn't.
You wasn't there.
No,
have you visited anywhere before as a recruit where they rushed the field? Like, or was that your first time being in something like that?
That was my first time being in something like that. So
if you can put it into words, what is that like, just being on the field and just people everywhere?
I say crazy. Like, one moment the game finished, next moment we see lots of supporters coming on the field running, excited. So kind of, turn up the atmosphere, have a great time. So
yeah. Williams-Brice, man, second to none, amazing atmosphere. Fans do great. So I know when you guys are on offense, obviously, the crowd kind of softens a little bit on purpose. But when you're on the sideline and the defense is on the field and the crowd is at, like, its height, like they are loud, can you hear yourself think on the sideline? Like, can you hear yourself talk when you guys are down there communicating on the sideline with the defense? Like, what is that like just being on the sideline at Williams-Brice Stadium?
It kind of feels like zoning out, the noise, really. Everything's just quiet. And this is kind of more of like, muscle memory, it just happens. Like you just don't hear the crowd. You're just so focused on what's in front of you right now, you just don't hear the crowd at all. So it's not really nothing that I try to do. I think it just it's something that happens because it's already a habit.
Yeah, I got you, man. And final thing, Josiah, how excited are you to look ahead and run out in Georgia, NFL Stadium, taking on Virginia Tech? I don't know what the countdown is right now. Somebody out there might have the countdown, but it'll be here before you guys know it. So how excited are you, man, to kick this thing off? And it'll be year 2 for you.
Oh, yeah, I'm excited. Let's kick it off good, too, for coming up here. So I'm excited.
All right, here's Josiah Thompson, South Carolina rising sophomore, left tackle, going through spring ball right now, man. So we appreciate the time. Good luck, and we'll talk to you soon, okay?
Oh, yeah, appreciate it. Thank you.
Folks, let us tell you about our friends over at Krantz Cooling. Since 1983, that's 2Ks, krantzcooling.com. You rely on your home's air conditioning and heating systems to keep your temperatures throughout your house comfortable year-round. To keep those systems in working order, you want a professional, reliable, full-service contractor. Krantz is serving homeowners just like you in the Columbia area by delivering quality workmanship, products, positive results, safety, uncompromising integrity, as well as any of the services you need for your HVAC systems. Of course, that includes air conditioner, heating, preventative maintenance, ductless AC, indoor air quality, or if you are a business owner as well, hit up our friends at Krantz for your commercial HVAC services. How do you do that? Phone number 803-672-3224. Again, that's 803-672-3224. Or head on over to KrantzCooling.com.
And welcome back into the Gamecock Club Hour presented by Krantz Cooling and Heating. Chris Clark here with Boaz Stanley from Gamecock Football. Another great opportunity here to chat with a South Carolina football player and one of the new faces for this year. Boaz, how you doing, man?
I'm good. I'm enjoying my start to be in Columbia, so that's good.
Awesome. Yeah, appreciate you being here with me, man, and taking time out of your schedule to do it. First of all, let's do a little housekeeping here. you're from Georgia, and I know you've told me that you're from Athens, but not technically Athens. Is that right? Like, run that down for me.
Yeah, so I'm from the county I'm from is Oconee. So it's like 15 minutes away from Athens. So that's why I always say Athens, because I'm right outside of it. So that's where I went most of high school. And I'm from Parkview, where I was born in Parkview, which is near Atlanta. So those are the two main spots that I lived growing up.
Tell me about seriously, interesting name. Like, do you go by Bo, or does your family call you Boaz, or do you go by a nickname? Like, what's the?
I honestly go by both. I feel like recently I've been going by Boaz more, but I don't know. It's been it's kind of always been whichever one people say first. Like, I think half the team calls me Bo, half the team calls me Boaz. So that's kind of we just go by both. We got, we have a Mo who's on the team. And so I'm whenever they say that, I'm I turn my head, but then I'm I just got to go by Boaz so that we don't get anything mixed up.
Well, we always like to ask guys who have, either an interesting name or a nickname. There's been a couple guys named Debo at South Carolina, or whatever name. But where did your name come from? Because there aren't tons and tons of Boazes, in Georgia. Yeah. I don't think.
No, there's not. I've only met I think I've only met one other Boaz.
Yeah.
But it's from the Bible, so that's where my parents got it from that. But that's where they got it. It's not like a family name or anything like that.
Yeah. No, that's what I was going to say. You don't find a lot of Boazes in Georgia. You do find them in the Bible. You would find them in Israel, etc. But that's cool, man. Very cool. So transitioning, to your time here at South Carolina. Well, let's look back too. So you entered the transfer portal after spending some time at Troy. What went into that decision of, hey, I want to enter the portal. I want to kind of test the waters and see what was out there. Did you feel like you were just maybe ready for a jump in competition, or what was it that led you to the portal?
Yeah, I think it was, I wanted to, especially I guess one main reason was I wanted to try to get a little bit closer to home, so that me and my wife could just be a little bit closer to home, be able to go back and see everyone a little bit easier, because we're both from Athens. And also, obviously, I wanted to try to play in the SEC, because that's a Power 4 team that's right around where I live, or where I'm from. Yep. So that's kind of what I guess was thinking going into the portal. And then obviously South Carolina reached out once I got in, and I was that's 2 hours and 15 minutes from Athens. So I was kind of worked out perfectly that situation.
You had an interesting, I would say, journey to get all the way to the SEC, because you were a standout in high school. You actually went, I'd kind of forgotten this, actually. You went to Georgia Military College, where actually a lot of great college and NFL players that have come from that program, a lot of Gamecocks that have come from that program, and then went to Troy. But when you look back, what do you think of kind of this journey you've taken? It's not been you see more and more of that, honestly, right? Especially with the portal guys who went to a smaller school, then jumped up, or they went JUCO and jumped up, or something like your situation. How do you kind of look back on that now?
I think it was just a really fun experience. I loved going to GMC. It was just I think it was a great way for me to kind of get my feet wet playing at the college level. Because I feel like it was just good to be able to go somewhere, and then I played 10 games and just kind of got some experience really playing all three positions. And then that's when I switched to center, because I played tackle in high school, and then I kind of played guard and center at GMC. So I think it was just a good experience for me to have. I always tell people I would never change going there just because I think it's like it was a fun experience, and I think it was just good for me developmentally to go and just play somewhere as a freshman in college.
How different is it when you think back at anybody who's ever been to, South Carolina's indoor practice facility, the football operations building, the weight room?
Yeah.
Like, how different is Georgia Military College weight room versus what you got at South Carolina now?
It's a little hard to compare, I think. There's a lot of there's a lot of, I guess, history at GMC that it's just like they have a bunch of, really it's just like some racks and some weights, and that's all they got in there, and you just go in there and it's old school workouts. So I think it's just it's really hard to compare because obviously we have so much more than there is at GMC, but it's like, I don't think when you go to JUCO, you're not really like, oh, we have to have a bunch of facilities or anything like that. But I think it's definitely very hard to compare the two because of the vast difference between.
We were talking about that the other day, man, because when they put out that video on the Gamecock football social account of the dead hang challenge, at first I was like, well, God, man, that's a lot of even when you're splitting up the workout groups, that's a lot of dudes hanging. Like, how did they do that? And I was like, oh yeah, they have 70 racks, that you can hang from probably. So, when you got that many, you can put in that much work, Yeah.
That's and wild. There's probably at least two pull-up bars that you can hang from for each rack. So it's it's usually got two groups going and you're good.
So staying with that, what have you, something that we hear a lot from guys who are freshmen or transferring in from a different level is just the difference in the workout regimens, and really just the entire strength and conditioning. And I'd loop nutrition in there too, right? Like the access that you have to food with Yemi Rodriguez and his staff, Luke Day and Jamil Walker and Chip Morton and their staff. Like, what have you thought about getting acclimated to that environment and the job that those guys do preparing you?
I think they do a great job. I've had a lot of fun just doing all the new stuff because I feel like it's a very unique program. There's not personally, I haven't really done a lot of the stuff we've done here before. And I think it's just it's been just great to go through that, I think. And especially with, obviously there's all the people that have been here for a long time, and who went to the combine, which you can just see that they're different, with Nick and just like everyone else who did that. But I think it's really fun. And also Yemi, he's showed me a lot of stuff that I don't think about, just on the nutrition side of working out and making sure you know what to eat after you work out and before workouts. And I think that's really been an extra thing that I didn't think about, honestly, when I was coming here. That's just kind of boosted my just training and recovery and everything even more than everything else. So I think those are that's something I guess not a lot of people think about, or maybe some people do, but it's something that really gives you a good, I guess, competitive advantage if someone doesn't have someone like Yemi.
Do you feel like this might be hard to classify as you continue to get more and more developed, but you have played football for a while now, counting your time at high school, junior college, Troy, and now getting into things here. But how close are you to feeling optimal, if that makes sense? The best version of yourself, whether that's height and weight, conditioning, all that stuff. Where are you at in that process?
I think probably weight wise, I'm probably right where I need to be. I'm 315, so I think that's around 315 to 320 is probably the best weight for me. That's what I feel best when I'm practicing everything. Strength wise, I feel I'm probably 80% I don't know. I feel like I'm always every year I've always gotten stronger, so I don't really know how to classify that. So hopefully I'm not at 80%. Hopefully I'm at like 60%. But that, and then I think honestly I feel like just like technique wise or being sound and all that, I feel like there's always something better that you can get at. And I mean, there's always something in practice, one little thing that you can get better at. So I feel like that's kind of a hard thing for me to say, just because, I mean, if you talk to Coach Teasley, you probably point out like 10 different things I need to get better at. So that's kind of hard for me to say about that, but
Yeah. All right, we're going to dive a lot deeper into actually just what you said. I want to get your thoughts on how things are coming along in the early days of spring ball, your thoughts on the O-line room, Coach Beamer's culture, and so much more. We're chatting here with Boaz Stanley on the Gamecock Club Hour presented by Krantz Cooling and Heating. Take a quick time out. More with them on the other side. All right, welcome back in. It's the Gamecock Club Hour presented by Krantz Cooling and Heating. Chris Clark sitting in with Boaz Stanley from Gamecock Football. Talking about Coach Teasley, right, in this offensive line room. You know, I'm sure you know, South Carolina loses 3 starters from the interior, guys that had played a lot of football, whether it was here, a guy like Vershawn Lee, or a couple guys who transferred in for a final season but ended up winning starting jobs in Kamar Bell and Torricelli Simpkins, and those guys all did a really nice job for the Gamecocks last year. But that leaves some openings, right? So first question for you, you know, what have you thought about just the room that you guys have on the offensive line and the competition that you've seen in the early going of spring practice?
One thing that I've noticed is just like we got a lot of depth. There's a lot of good players everywhere. There's not like it's not like there's only 1 or 2 or just like 5 good guys. There's we got a lot of depth, and that's something that I've really enjoyed being around because everyone's pushing each other to get better. And it's just like it's kind of constant competition. We got some ways that we figure, or some ways that we like encourage being physical and all that, and so that's some good competition that we have. So it's been really fun being around everyone, and everyone in the room such great guys. So it's just like it's fun just being in meetings, just being around everyone every day. It's not like there's one guy who you don't like that much. It's everyone's great and just encouraging, and we're all just pushing each other to be the best we can. It's not like, I feel like it's not really like we're competing with each other. We're competing with ourselves to just be the best that like we can be, and just fixing all the small stuff. Like I was saying earlier, how there's like 10 things for me to fix. I'm trying to just fix those things, and then everyone just gets better by doing that.
When you think about, you know, Shane Beamer, and, you know, he's really big on culture and team building. And I know you guys have a lot of activities, you know, during, you know, the season, in the off season, to kind of build up the team. But what have been your thoughts on just acclimating to that environment? Like, was that what you thought? And, you know, how important do you think that is?
I think it's better than what I was expecting, because I was obviously expecting it to be really great and have like a really good culture, but it was even better, like probably just because I couldn't, when I came on my visit, I couldn't see as many of the players because they were all on their break. But it was a very like, it's obvious that everybody that they recruit here is great, like great athletes, but also great men. So it's kind of, I've just been enjoying being around a bunch of good people, and just like it's been it's just been good. And it's obviously you can tell he's created a really good, strong culture here. So it's been like you can feel as just a player, or if you're just looking in, like my parents, they can see it, and my wife, she can tell that there's a good culture here.
You know, you let's go off the field as we kind of wrap things up here and let you go. What do you like to do away from football? Obviously, you're married. There's actually Demetrius Knight, who is off to the NFL now, was also married, starting his family and everything when he played here at South Carolina, which was cool. But what do you like to do, you know, away from the field?
I kind of just like, we've been exploring all of Columbia just slowly. We recently just went to the farmers market on Saturday.
Oh yeah.
So that was really fun. We kind of just go around. My wife likes to go to all the antique shops that are all around. So that's one thing that we do. And just kind of, we've gone to mini golfing at Frankie's. So that's one thing that we enjoy. And then we kind of just try to sprinkle in everything so we don't get bored or anything. It's kind of hard to get bored with all the stuff you can do here.
Yeah. I was gonna say there's plenty to do. Who's the cook in the household?
My wife, definitely. Yeah. She makes some cinnamon rolls that everybody on the team is like, or at least all the coaches are constantly asking me when she's going to make more. Because I brought them in a couple times. So she's like, she makes that, and she makes some great. I keep telling people, I'm like, that's my competitive advantage, is having her make me great meals every night.
That's incredible, man. Cinnamon rolls. That is I don't even know. Like, I feel like if the offensive line room finds out about these cinnamon rolls, she's going to be very busy making.
Yeah, I'm going to have to bring some in for them soon.
That's dangerous. She's like, please don't tell them, all those guys, about that. They'll eat a lot of them.
Yeah.
But you don't like to. I mean, do you fire up the grill ever? Like, do you like to grill a steak? Can you contribute?
I do. We don't have at our apartment. We can't grill anything, so it's like I have to put a steak in a pan or something like that. But I probably will do that in a couple weekends or something like that. I was telling her, I can't remember when it was. It was a couple weeks ago, but we ended up not having steaks. But I'm gonna have to do that at some point.
All right, Boaz. Well, hey, I appreciate your time, man. I'm going to let you run, get back to it. Thanks for taking time out of your busy schedule to talk with us, and wishing all the best for you, man.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
That's Boaz Stanley of Gamecock Football. It's been the Gamecock Club Hour presented by Krantz Cooling and Heating. And up next, Gamecock Central Takeover Hour with myself, Wes, and Tyler. We'll be right back. All right, everyone. Another one of our great partners here on the game as we go into the Gamecock Central Takeover Hours, our friends Joe Reeder and Mac Sawyer of Classic Roofing, 803-590-7870 or classicroofingsc.com. Classic Roofing can help you take care of your roof, which can be very challenging, very confusing. Quality craftsmanship and customer service to where it doesn't have to be confusing. It can actually be easy when you work with Joe, Mac, and the team at Classic Roofing. They do roof inspections, installations, replacements, or repairs for homes and businesses around the Midlands. Reliable GAF certified roofers. Only about 7% of roofers nationwide even have that certification. And if you're a homeowner or business owner, you can actually visualize your new roof. Go to classicroofingsc.com. They'll give you a free estimate. They can come help you. Again, that's 803-590-7870. Friendly team at Classic Roofing.
11 o'clock on your Tuesday morning. Welcome in. It is the Gamecock Central Takeover Hour presented by Firehouse Subs. Tyler, Wes, and Chris along with you here on the game. You just heard in the last hour both Wes and Chris's conversations with members of South Carolina's offensive line. Wes talking to Josiah Thompson as he enters his second year here at South Carolina. And then, Chris, you spoke with Boaz Stanley coming in as a transfer out of Troy, guy that's played a good amount of college football up to this point. And two guys that are expected to kind of be leading the way at their respective positions and very likely to be both starters on this offensive line when the fall does roll around. But as we'll get into here and also hear Coach Shula's comments on the offensive line from yesterday, a lot of questions to be answered about that group as well as many others on this team as we roll through spring practice in the offseason.
Yeah, no doubt. How was Boaz, Chris? I feel like Boaz, he's a good interview.
Oh, he's a great interview. Great guy. You know, I'm excited. We've got another older soul on the team.
His wife's making cinnamon rolls for everyone.
Yeah, we got another married guy. So that as we know, is the key.
That translates pretty well.
The key to success in the portal.
Heightened expectations.
Yes.
Does he drive a minivan? I don't think you asked me about that.
I didn't. No.
But they don't have kids. D-Night had kids, so we had the minivan for that.
Yeah. I think South Carolina would like it if, like, in the portal, like, it's very bare bones with the info. Not that I've ever seen it. But they would like a designation, like, are you married or not? It's like a filter.
Yeah, but then everybody else would know, Chris. That's a secret.
That's a secret sauce.
Did you guys hear Troy's basketball coach last week saying they only have success with guys that like Waffle House?
Yeah.
And that's kind of their litmus. Like, we'll save some time and just ask if you like Waffle House. And if you do, you'll walk out here. For South Carolina in the portal, hey, are you married? If so, come here. You'll be good.
Can you imagine a kid, though, comes in there and he wants to go to the school. He's just wondering why the coaches just stopped talking to him or whatever. He has no ideas because I'm an IHOP fan. Like, I don't really love Waffle House.
It's like, get with it.
But apparently the cinnamon rolls are bomb. And I know you're a cinnamon roll fan, Wes. So
I'm a fan of all sweets. So.
Same. Yeah. We got to get him in studio to bring these to us.
I just thought it was dangerous that, like, apparently he hasn't given them to the offensive lineman yet. Like, the offense, like, she's brought them to the coaches, his wife has.
Oh, okay. I gotcha.
Like, do the O-linemen know about it? Not like, well, don't.
Hey, that's a high-level move right there.
That is. That's chess.
Yeah.
Coach, would you like a cinnamon roll? And can I get some extra reps today? Please?
Yeah, Lonnie Teasley's just getting cinnamon rolls every day on his desk.
Why does Coach not yell at Boaz as much as the rest of us? That's why.
His wife's just sitting there
just
watching.
Eating the cinnamon rolls.
He goes out to practice. He's still got some of it on the side of his mouth.
Oh, man.
But seriously, I mean, Boaz, great dude. Like, really enjoyed him. He seems like a sinner. That's the best way I can put it. You know, and he's had such a fascinating journey because he played high school ball in Georgia near Athens. Tyler was giving me a geography lesson. I kind of messed it up.
You're all right. It's a mistake a lot of people make.
I'm good. I mixed up like Oconee, basically, like the high schools west. But went to GMC, Georgia Military. A lot of former Gamecock greats that have played there at Georgia Military, and then Troy, and now at South Carolina. And, like, he's just a sharp guy who you could just see. Like, you can just picture it, him being in the center of the defense, snapping the ball, making the calls. Really like him, and I think he's going to be heavily in the mix, which Shula talked about yesterday some as well.
Yeah, I think among your transfers, but Boaz, and I'm trying to make sure I'm not forgetting anybody before I say the sentence, but I think Boaz is maybe our early favorite for kind of already, I mean, it's been 2 days, right? But already sort of exceeding the expectations. I mean, this was as low-key of a transfer portal recruitment as you could possibly have. And we have seen some low-key ones, but, even like Jaylen Brown's was low-key, but he was a guy that was well-known. I mean, he was a high 3, 4-star, depending on where you looked, guy as a high school prospect the year before and had a really nice even transfer ranking by his name. Boaz, I mean, there was no reporting that Boaz was in the portal. Look, I mean, think about that.
Yeah,
I still don't know how that happened.
I have no idea how it happened, but South Carolina, I'm sure, was completely okay with that.
Yeah.
And he committed. Like, the reporting that he committed came before there was ever any reporting that he had even entered the portal. So that tells you just how low-key it was. And so we quickly heard, hey, there's something different about this Boaz guy. And not just the intellect, not just kind of the IQ for playing center, but his movement ability and his potential to step in. Now, the pads are just going on today. So I do think even when we get this information, we have to put our information in context. But based on everything that's floated around, kind of around the program in terms of what the staff thinks, I can pretty safely say they think they got a steal in Boaz Stanley. I mean, if I was putting out a way too early projected starting lineup, he's probably your starting center.
Yeah, I'm with you. So we had 2 starters on today. I mean, and you know, Shula talked about that yesterday too with Josiah and Case and Henry. Like, there's competition everywhere, but obviously the 2 tackle spots, those are the 2 that you can point to where you've got returning starters back, and so it's just about those guys getting better and kind of holding everybody else off, competing. These other 3, left guard, center, right guard, you know, that's where you got more competition. You got 3 transfers. You've got, you know, more than 3 guys back on the roster, too, who could all factor in.
Let's hear what Coach Shula's full thoughts on the offensive line were yesterday when speaking to the media.
Yeah, I think, again, the guys that we brought in, Boaz and RJ, I think are guys that are very conscientious. I think they, same thing, they're working hard to put their best foot forward in, you know, just in all aspects of their game. You know, that center, obviously, other than the quarterback, he's, you know, he's touching the ball every play, and he's got to be the quarterback, so to speak, of the guys up front. So the communication's got to be at a premium, and I think both guys do a really good job with that. I think that, you know, everybody it's crazy the amount of, at least from my recollection, the amount of new guys that you have compared to last year. And I remember the guys, when I got here last year, the coach saying the same thing. There's a lot of new guys, so you have to be really good at communicating so everyone's on the same page get everybody on the same page as quick as you can. And I think both those guys have done that. And we got other guys in the fold as well, too. So.
And again, a lot of bodies in that room to kind of filter out and figure out who your starters are going to be. Again, Boaz Stanley seems to be kind of the leader with that center spot. Again, Josiah Thompson did start at left tackle a season ago, had his ups and downs. You would expect for a true freshman playing at such a difficult spot there. And we'll see his progression is going to be over the course of the spring. But, you know, the entire rest of the offensive line, your guard spots, your right tackle. I know Casey Henry is back, but he had his own struggles last year. Still a lot to be figured out between now and the start of the season, 159 days from now, on what your exact starting 5 is going to look like.
Can I make a Shula? Can I take us off the rails for one moment?
Please,
sure.
Please.
Go ahead.
Shula observation. I was trying to figure out who Shula reminds me of.
Oh, I'm glad you're going here because I've been going through the same
And I think
thing.
I've got it.
All right.
So, and it's not identical at all. It's not like you could close your eyes and mistake one for the other. But certain ways he says things, very similar actually to Paul Maneri.
Okay.
That is true.
Listen to both of them in a press conference. The way they like
the cadence.
Yes, cadence. Even a little bit of the accent. Certain words they use. And they went to the same high school. So.
Whoa.
Really? I didn't know that.
Yes.
Maybe it's the same English class, so they, you know.
I think
Shula's a little bit younger.
I think they both played quarterback at Christopher Columbus High School in Miami, Florida.
I meant same English teacher, Tyler. Not like literal, same class. Yeah, Christopher Columbus.
Tyler. Yeah, okay. Just saying.
Tyler.
I'm not the one that I'm not the one that screwed up Athens geography.
Yeah, that's right. Excuse me. This is a Gamecock show. I know about Columbia. I know where things are.
Tyler can tell you all about Athens.
All about
geography.
Athens. Yes.
I'm trying to see who else went to Christopher Columbus High School.
Probably a lot of people. There's he also said Shula, he likes to drop conscientious.
Yeah.
That was a favorite actually of Lance Thompson back in the day.
And I think
Maneri says conscientious.
I think Maneri dropped that the other day.
God, that's a good pull. I'm kind of jealous of that.
Maybe I missed it. I don't recall Shula dropping any NFL references yesterday because that was obviously something Loggins was famous for. It's funny with Loggins, it started off when he first got here, it was name dropping, Adam Gase, Jay Cutler, whoever it may be, and then over time it just became
the Jay Cutler drop.
Yeah, I love the Jay Cutler one. Then over time it just became the NFL in general. By the time he left here, I don't think I caught any NFL references from Shula yesterday.
No. I think we're okay with that.
Yeah,
too.
and again, he spent plenty of time there, and had a fair amount of success at the NFL level too. But something to watch. See how many times he references coaching at the next level.
Yeah, and guys. So the takeaway there too, getting back to what he said was, are we seeing Tree take that next step? And obviously, Tree has played some. He's arguably played well when he's been put in those situations, but he also has never just truly locked down a starting spot. And I think a lot of us thought after him playing as a true freshman, expect a guy to probably have a pretty good chance to lock down a starting spot the next year, and that just didn't happen last year. So I think he is a wild card in that guard competition. And Shula didn't completely confirm what we had reported that he's going to work or is working at guard some. He absolutely is working at guard some. So I think when you're having your conversations or you're trying to put together your starting lineups, your depth charts, clearly if Tree is taking a step forward, he's a guy that has the talent, that has the baseline ability, has the size to factor in there, I think. So, if we kind of say, all right, Boaz is the center, who are your starters at these two guard spots? I think obviously Nick Sharp is in the conversation. Tree probably in the conversation now. Tro Ball in the conversation. If you get past that, you also notice he mentioned RJ when talking about centers, that being RJ Newsome, the transfer. I think right now, again, this could easily change. Kamar Bell, maybe at the beginning of last spring, I don't know if I had him penciled in as a starter. I think RJ is about where I had penciled in Kamar Bell this time last year. Maybe more likely kind of that extra guy who could play center, could play guard, maybe is more of a depth guy for you right now. That would be if Sharp is ready, which I think they expect him to be, hope he is. But, I mean, could Tree and Tro just be your two starting guards? I think that is actually possible as well.
Yeah, and I think you look at this competition as a good thing. If you had, all five starters back, they're heads and shoulders better than the other guys behind them, that great, right? But you carry some questions in, and it's almost, I think, a positive that you're hearing is pretty close, and which is kind of expected because you're just getting into this thing. You're just integrating these new transfers. You got some guys who are still relatively young from a playing time standpoint in Tree and Tro. They've played, right? But they're not, 30, 40 game starters over the course of their career. It's going to sort itself out. But having it be close is actually good because that probably means you've got some depth, which is what you want to carry into the season.
We'll get back into Coach Shula coming up next. Hear what he had to say about Lenore Sellers and improving his processing over the course of the spring. Quickly, though, Christopher Columbus High School, Mike Shula, Paul Maneri, Mario Cristobal, Brian Greasy. How about A-Rod also going there? So pretty who's who list.
Did he play quarterback?
Famous alumni. I don't think he played quarterback.
He could have.
I guarantee if he wanted to. Yeah. But he was most likely the star of the baseball team. I'd be willing to bet. Gamecock Central Takeover Hour presented by Firehouse Subs, Tire West and Crest on your Tuesday on the game.
What is this?
Broadcasting live from the Herndon Chevy Studios. You can save up to $20,000 on new Silverados. Stop by or shop online today and see how Herndon Chevy makes you smile. Together, let's
All right, Firehouse Subs is where you can go and get lunch, dinner, or even get that catering order for the next family or friends event that you're going to be having. 15 different locations all around the Midlands. So wherever you are, there's a Firehouse Subs close and convenient to you. Even more convenient because you can go to firehousesubs.com or use the Firehouse Subs app. That's my favorite method. That's how we all like to do our orders around here. And then your sandwich will be waiting on you when you get to the store. If you haven't checked it out yet, if you haven't heard about the new limited time offerings, if you have heard about it and you hadn't had a chance to go try it yet, Firehouse Subs has teamed up with Hot Ones, the hottest talk show out there, for 2 new limited time subs. Both plays on the classic hook and ladder, the zesty garlic hook and ladder with the Hot Ones garlic Fresno hot sauce, or the spicy dill hook and ladder with the Last Stab Reaper sauce. That pickle soaked in the Last Stab Reaper sauce too. FirehouseSubs.com or the Firehouse Subs app.
Welcome back in. It is the Gamecock Central Takeover Hour presented by Firehouse Subs. Tyler West and Chris along with you on your Tuesday here on the game. Reminder, later on this week on Friday, it's the 107.5 The Game Spring Golf Classic. This year in partnership with the Lexington County Gamecock Club out of Charwood Golf Club in West Columbia. If you want to sign up, you can register your foursome at 803-755-2000. We're going to have the Power 5 golf ball cannon out there once again. Going to be giving away a pair of baseball and football season tickets as well 2 lucky winners, and our special guest is Basketball Hall of Famer and former Gamecock great Alex English hanging out there too. Special thanks to Hardee's for providing breakfast and Firehouse Subs who are providing lunch for us out there Friday as well. So again, come by and hang out with us and sign up at 803-755-2000 for the 107.5 The Game Spring Golf Classic. Getting back into the conversation, what we heard from coordinators yesterday, we'll get to Clayton White coming up here in the next segment, but continuing on with Mike Shula, who of course last season served underneath Dow Loggins in the offense, kind of working with Laura Sellers on the sidelines because Dow Loggins is obviously up in the booth and kind of being that guy, talking to him a lot between series and obviously helping him fine-tune his mechanics at quarterback, and that seems to be kind of a pivotal point of focus in this spring session is improving Sellers from a traditional quarterback sense and improving on his processing as well. And something that Mike Shula talked about yesterday was that process of improving his processing.
Yeah, so you just talk about it constantly. You show looks in the meeting rooms of other quarterbacks doing it, maybe on other teams. You show, you talk about looks of yourself doing it, and maybe it's you're watching, having Lenoris watch himself on this play and just say, hey, well, now if we had this play in that same exact look, what are you doing? And just, and have as many type of things that you can put them through, walk through stuff out there without the defense and just talk through it. So all those different, meeting rooms, get them on the blackboard, talk about it, ask questions, watch tape doing it, walkthroughs out on the field, practicing out on the field. I think as many times as you can do and say that. Now we want to have we have a set of rules for every play, and because you can't go through all the situations, those rules are set up basically to respond in a positive way when things aren't the way the coach said, or they aren't the way it was drawn up. And so you want him reacting positively along those guidelines, and then you throw in the fact that you have a guy like him who can create on his own. That becomes like, icing on the cake, so to speak.
And as he alluded to there at the very end, we know Sellers' athletic ability, and when he does cut and run, the plays that he can make happen, including the one that we're going to remember him for a long time, that won him the Clemson game at the very end. But fine-tuning that processing, going through your progressions and all those kind of things, making you a better, well-rounded quarterback is obviously going to benefit South Carolina this season, hopefully, but also for Sellers, who, again, if he has a good enough season, can go to the NFL next year. Those kind of things are going to be important for furthering his career as a quarterback.
Yeah, and guys, I think this is going to be a discussion that it kind of popped up when Shula spoke in his very first press conference as offensive coordinator when, paraphrasing here, he essentially said there were situations where Sellers ran that if he had sort of maybe gotten the ball out faster as a passer or seen what was going on a little bit quicker as a passer, then it wouldn't have even led to a running situation. And then you kind of look at the bowl game, it seemed like there was a little bit more of a hesitancy to take off and run. Some of that may be scheme dependent in terms of what the defense was doing. But listening to Shula yesterday, I think this is a discussion we're going to continue to have throughout not just the offseason, but going into the season. Every time Sellers maybe doesn't take off running and we look back and say, there's maybe a chance to run there, I think this conversation is going to come back up among media and fans. Shula didn't say it in that exact quote, but there was a quote later on where he was talking about that exact thing, which is when do you sort of let the play out, get the ball out to maybe a third or fourth read, and when do you just take off running?
Yeah, the phrase that he used later in a different portion of the presser was, when we run, we want to run on our own terms. And so you think about a lot of the plays that Sellers made last year, and I wouldn't even, guys, count that 3rd and 16 run against Clemson, which was obviously incredible among many of the other runs he made. That one, if you go back and look, there was some pressure, and it looked like guys were generally pretty covered up. And so he stepped up, ran for a touchdown. He did his thing, right? You think about some of the other plays. One of the best examples is probably Texas A&M, right? Very, very talented defensive line. Shamar Stewart, a guy who blew up the combine, and other people. And he's just absolutely dead to rights a lot of the time. But he escapes and finds Rocket Sanders in the flat, or he escapes and goes and runs, right? You would rather not those situations even arise. You would rather, not give up that pressure. You'd rather the ball get out early. And so you think about, we all saw Lenoir's progression from the Old Dominion game to the Clemson game and the end of the year. And Shula talked yesterday about starting at that point. Let's not start from the beginning of your freshman year. Let's start from the end of your freshman year and build on it. We all saw the progression. Remember, there were even some Gamecock fans last year, a few games in. I don't know about this guy. Crazy in hindsight, because you see how talented he is, how much he progressed. But I think the next step for him, he is already quite a strong passer, contrary to what some people who don't watch ball say. But there is a lot more meat on that bone. There's a lot more progression. And so, yes, when it's time, you love that he can make those types of plays for you. But were there some plays left on the field last year where you could have gotten the ball out for an explosive passing play, or some of that pressure that got there that he was able to elude was because of some other problem within the offense? Yeah, sometimes those things were there.
Well, and that's the thing, going back to our conversation in the first segment about the offensive line, which, again, was not great last year. He made it look better at the end of the year because he just started, ducking out of those would-be sacks and making more plays with his feet. But if you can get better blocking for him up front, which can allow him to sit back there and allow things to develop down the field, allow him to go through his progressions and all those kind of things to open himself up for more of those passing opportunities, that's going to make everything better. Now, again, that's easier said than done. You still got to go out there and execute, obviously, but having the other pieces of your offense be more effective around you is only going to help him be a better quarterback at the end of the day.
Yeah, and I think anytime you have a running quarterback, you're going to have these conversations about what does that look like, and should he have ran? You're talking about split-second decisions on, do I run here, do I throw here, do I give up on the play, do I keep the play alive, and then we're all going to go back with our DVR or whatever, or YouTube, clicking forward and backwards, and as the tape is paused, to be like, oh man, you should have ran there. So, I think it's very easy after the fact to sit there and say, should a guy have done this? Should a guy have done that? But ultimately, what Shula's talking about in terms of processing and those things in the passing game, it is, you get to the point to where it is almost second nature. Like, yes, you're thinking, but you're not really thinking. It's more you're relying back on what you already know. And I see this. I've seen this in practice. I've seen this in walkthrough. I know exactly what I'm seeing. I know where the ball is supposed to go to. And then to Shula's point, as he kept talking there, maybe you see something different in how a team plays a certain play, but because you've gone through your rules and you know the way the play is designed so well, you know the why behind the play, not just, hey, this is what route combination we have going here. I know why it's being run, and I know what it's designed to attack. Even if you see something different, you still follow your rules correctly and go make a play and go make the right decision. I know we're going to talk about Clayton White at some point too, but I do think there's a little bit more we can glean on the other side from Shula, just in terms of talking about the scheme itself. Not that we got X's and O's details, but I do think we got a little bit of insight into his mindset for the scheme going into next year.
We'll get into that coming up on the other side. Gamecock Central Takeover Hour presented by Firehouse Subs on your Tuesday here on The Game. Welcome back in. Gamecock Central Takeover Hour presented by Firehouse Subs. Tyler West and Chris with you on your Tuesday here on the game. Continuing to pick our way through Mike Shula's press conference yesterday after a couple days of spring practice in the books. And as Wes alluded to right there at the end of that last segment, get his expanded thoughts on any potential tweaks that Mike Shula would like to put into this offense this year.
No, I mean, not. I mean, there's things that we're going to look at over the course of spring ball, but nothing major. I mean, like I said, we want to build on the good and then add and enhance to what we did last year, to what Lenore's provides, and then a lot of it is after that. It's just finding out what all these new guys, whether or not they're young guys that didn't get a lot of reps last year, or the new guys coming in, see what they can do well. And I think we have to be a little careful. Again, this is probably just my opinion based on being back in college football for basically just a little over a year now. I think you have to be careful because of all the newness and the guys coming in of trying to do too many different things early, like schematically, and then wasting time doing them, and then all of a sudden you get to the fall and you don't do them at all because you didn't like them. I'd rather do stuff that we know is kind of going to be our bread and butter stuff for next year, things that we can feel like we can hang our hat on, even though that still can change, but stuff that they've done well, and just really build a foundation in spring ball of the things that we know we're going to carry into the fall. And then that other stuff can get added later on in practice. We're not wasting time kind of looking at a bunch of stuff and then not getting good at the stuff we know we're going to be.
And in a situation like this where you're promoting somebody from within to take over your play calling duties, you wouldn't expect it to change a whole lot. Yeah, he said the terminology and stuff may be a little bit different compared to what Dow Loggins had, and Mike Shula was a part of building the offense a season ago that, again, was centered around Lenore Sellers, much like the offense the year before. In year one, Dow Loggins was centered around Spencer Rattler. So he had his hand in making what this offense was a year ago that obviously ended up being very successful en route to 9 wins. So no reason to go in there and blow the whole thing up and start over again just because you're now the one calling plays. And again, there could be a few things here and there that are different, but for the most part, it sounds like it's going to be relatively similar with, again, the expectation that Sellers is hopefully going to be able to do more, when it comes to throwing the football compared to maybe what he did a season ago.
Guys, I think, first of all, a big part of the reason Shula was promoted was so that you wouldn't have to blow up the thing. So, if you were going to just blow it up anyway, then, you could have, not that Shula doesn't have a great resume himself, but if you were going to have him blow it up, you could have just gone out and interviewed 5 guys and done all these different things and sort of just said, hey, we're going to go hire whoever we think is the best guy out there we could. Part of the process here was the continuity, the fact that Lenore Sellers has a relationship with Shula. Shula did a fantastic job last year, sort of basically as the, I guess you would say, assistant quarterbacks coach, but being right there with Lenoris pretty much every step of the way. So one thing from this quote that I actually like a lot, I think is a good thing. I think it's a great approach. Whenever you start talking about the NFL guys at the college level, my biggest concern is that most of them always have a tendency to want to do a little too much because they're so used to, in the NFL, there are so many different tweaks to the defensive coverages you're going to see that you have all these different tweaks to the offense, all these different approaches you have to take, and all these different plays. And, the Satterfield playbook, you can go back, was featured so many plays. Like this is a completely different, if you take these quotes at face value, completely different approach to the spring than what we were hearing, 5 years ago now, when it was, hey, we're going to use the spring and we're going to see what we do well, and, we're going to kind of throw a lot of stuff at them and then we'll cut it down. If you take this at face value, it's more, hey, let's go back to what we did last year, what we know we do well, and yeah, there's some new pieces in here. We know that. But the main guy we're building around is the same dude. So let's take what we did last year. Let's take what we did well and let's hone it. Let's get better at it. Let's make it to let's get more consistent, and then we can expand. Then we can tack on. Do we need a couple of different looks? Do we need some complementary plays to some of the things we're already doing? We can add those in as opposed to being like, hey, guys, you drop the new playbook on the table, start learning. Whatever we do well at the end of all this, that's what we're going to do. And you could, as he said, waste a lot of time doing that. So I think this is a good sign for there to actually be some continuity in what this offense looks like.
And Beamer talked to us about that when we sat down with him in February. He mentioned, kind of what you said, Wes, about, first couple years you got Satterfield, Loggins comes in. You kind of are bringing in some new concepts, keeping some, marrying some concepts. Now, the word he used was streamline. You want to streamline some of the terminology. And Beamer pointed out it's not something he had to go to Mike Shula to say. Mike Shula is very experienced as an OC. He has already, this offseason, even going into spring, sat down with Lenoris, sat down with the rest of the coaching staff, and they're trying to, you've got pieces of, kind of three offenses if you think about it, because you might say, well, I don't want any of Satterfield's offense. There were some things that worked, at times. I don't know as a percentage what you put in. There's some concepts that kind of translate across football in almost any playbook. And obviously, first couple years, you had Spencer Rattler. Now you've got, Lenore Sellers, so there's differences. But to the extent that you are keeping things, how can you streamline it and make it easier? When you are introducing new concepts, how are you doing it in a way that's not overwhelming your players? So you do still have the spring to figure out, maybe if you're Mike Shula, there's a concept that you think would work, and you find out, we're not really executing this that well. Let's scrap that. But it seems like they had some pretty good ideas coming into spring about the direction that they want to go. And you did enough good last year, and you've got obviously a generational talent, quite frankly, at quarterback, that you can build this thing around.
Absolutely. We'll dive into some defense before we get out of here. Let's hear what Clayton White had to say yesterday talking to the media as well. Reminder, baseball coming up tonight, 7 o'clock first pitch between South Carolina and North Carolina, 6:45 pregame here on the Game in Columbia, and 100.3 the Game out in Myrtle Beach. Is the Gamecock Central Takeover Hour presented by Firehouse Subs here on the Game. Welcome back in. Gamecock Central Takeover Hour presented by Firehouse Subs. Tyler West, Chris along with you for a few more minutes here on your Tuesday. Spent a lot of time hearing from Mike Shula and what he had to say about the offense yesterday. Quickly before we get out of here, going to slide in a little bit of Clayton White talking about the defense, particularly in this clip here, talking about a new member of the defensive line room, that being Xavier Hardy.
Yes, he came here. We had to take care of his body first, get his body up, up to the size that we like. I love his frame. I think he moves very well. He moves probably just as good as anyone that we've had in that room for us, just lateral quickness and just acceleration and athletic ability. I love it. He's 6'5" on a short day, you know what I mean? And so you love that part. Right now it's time to get the play strength up, continue grinding in the weight room, get his body. He's spent 2 years in JUCO, and JUCO's program as far as just taxing a college player body is not the same as it is at this level. So he has to get used to that. And in the meals with Yemi, our guys, I don't know what they put in that food down there, but for whatever reason, our guys can put on weight. So he's put on some pounds, some muscle is the most important part. That's what Coach Day and Coach Yemi do a great job together. Yemi puts the food in, and Coach Day turns it into muscle. So I'm excited to watch him just continue to grow.
And again, he came in as one of the most highly touted guys out of the JUCO ranks and is coming into a room that, as we've talked about so many times, is very wide open given the amount of production you lost, from a year ago. And yeah, Nick Barrett's been around for a while. Goodwine going into his second year, and you have other transfers like Dindy coming in from A&M that was highly touted out of high school, but Xavier Hardy is expected to come in and make a big impact right away. And you're hearing good things from Clayton White there saying, we're getting his body to where we think it needs to be. And it was already big enough coming in, but it sounds like he's getting even stronger and putting more muscle on.
Yeah, first of all, I actually love the kind of low-key dry humor of a Clayton White press conference, like he's 6'5" on a short day. But let me preface this by saying, guys, I typically do not think you count on JUCO guys to make an impact in year one. And I've just seen it so many times, no matter how talented, it's maybe 50-50 at best, just talking JUCO guys in general. So I don't want us to put the cart before the horse here on Xavier Hardy making a big impact this year. We're 2 days in, now 3 days starting today. When he made these comments, they hadn't even put the pads on yet. So let's give it perspective. However, I perked up a little bit when Clayton White said that Xavier Hardy moves as well as anyone they've had in that room. Lateral quickness, acceleration, athletic ability. And I don't know if there would be a better development for this team than for us to exit the spring hearing, hey, that Xavier Hardy is a monster. Hey, Xavier Hardy has moved into the ones group on the depth chart. Hey, Xavier Hardy is going to be a force of nature. Is there anything that could happen for this team this spring that would be a better thing than for us to start hearing someone on the interior of that D-line is in there just wrecking shop? I don't know that you could come up with a better story. Maybe, hey, Nick Harbor looks like a number one and a future NFL top draft pick. Maybe that's one. But if you were putting together three big developments that would go a long, long, long way for the Gamecocks, was actually, as I'm saying it out loud, maybe a story we could do. Hardy, that would be near or at the top of my list.
Just claimed that story idea, by the way. Just kidding. I'll let you have it. No, I agree with you because, you could say, okay, it would be just as good if you heard, okay, Monkel Goodwine's really stepping up. Nick Barrett, Dindy, right? Devontae Miles, we've heard some good things about. But I think if we hear, the exact example you mentioned of Zay Hardy, and not just, hey, he's stepping up, but, he's really turned it on, that's the best possible development. Number one, because of the need at the position, but I also think he's the guy on the roster that has the highest upside. I think he's one of the highest upside guys on the entire roster, not just in that room. We went back and looked at him. Wes in JUCO did a film review piece with Kevin Miller at Gamecock Central. There's some TJ Sanders there. And, man, I went back the other day. I was watching TJ Sanders, some of the stuff he did last year, and you just forget, how he was a shop wrecker, and I think Zay Hardy has some similarities with how he moves. So when you think about some of the guys that they've had recently, Tonka, Boogie, etc., TJ Sanders, when you hear, hey, this guy moves as well as those guys, that perks your ears up, right? I mean, they're getting into pads today, first padded practice. There's going to be a lot to learn for Zay Hardy. He's going to have to continue getting bigger and stronger. But just when you start with the athletic ability that he has, that's exciting. And frankly, they need him and those other guys to make some strides this spring.
Yeah, good things here from Clayton White there. We'll hear from Coach Beamer coming up a little bit later on today, which we'll have for you right here on the game as spring practice rolls on. Almost a full weekend. And, of course, getting closer and closer to the spring game coming up on April the 18th as we'll see if we can learn of the team over the next couple weeks. But that'll do it for the Gamecock Central Takeover Hour presented by Firehouse Subs. Coming up next is the halftime show. Terry Ford returning today. We'll dive back into football and also talk about women's basketball and some drama happening last night in the tournament as we found out South Carolina Sweet 16 opponent, also a major injury to a star on the other side of the bracket. That's coming up next here in the game.